For the last couple of weeks, I have been terribly procrastinating writing the last song for my EP. So, I made the probably bad and very impulsive decision to do the entire thing in 24 hours. To make this a little bit easier, I've decided to split the song up into 4 sections. The first will be a tonal riff, the second will be a modal riff, the third will be an instrumental break, and the last will be a breakdown. And then throughout each section, we're going to talk about the writing, recording, sound design, and mixing. By the end of our 24-hour period, there will be a song out right now that you can listen to by clicking the link in the description. Alright, so the clock has started. It is 11:04 p.m. right now. I just decided I was going to do this about 2 hours ago, so I'm not really ready for it, but here we are. What we're going to start out with is a classical harmony chord progression, and then we're going to base our riff off the notes of the chords. We're going to be writing the whole song in the key of D, so I'm just going to go ahead and lay out a chord progression in D minor. Instead of going straight for the guitar, I think I'm actually going to lay out the riff as a piano part. I really want this one to be melodic. I altered a few of these chords to add a little bit more tension underneath the melody that I came up with. So now I gotta take this piano part and we gotta turn it into a Thall riff. The first step to that is gonna be some drums. For the toms, I'm using Modern Massive 2. For the cymbals, I'm using Get Good Drums Invasion. For the kick and the snare, I am using the Aeon Shells Trigger 2 libraries. I'm gonna go through and I'm just gonna add some cymbals and the kick and snare to syncopate with the melody that I laid down on top of the piano. This is just a starting point for us, right? So at this point right here, we need to record the melody of the piano with the guitar. For the guitar today, we're gonna be using the GOC Vildhjarta 8. I am running that through Amp Room with a little bit of EQ on the way in, and I'm also using Thall Amp as a pedal here. Before we get started recording this riff, let's talk about tuning a little bit because it's weird. For the modal riff that's coming later, we're gonna need to be tuned to a Japanese koto tuning. So what does that mean?
What does that mean?
Well, on an 8 string, it ends up meaning that our middle 6 strings here are going to be in drop D, 1 octave down. And then on the top string here, we have a G, which is usually the octave that you'd find on a bass. And then just quickly for strings, we're just using the standard Ernie Ball 8-string pack. So we're going from a 74 to a 10. So I'm gonna go through and quad track all this and then we'll listen back and see what else we need to add. Now that we get our first riff here, let's go ahead and get all of the atmosphere tracks in so we can get a good feel of where we're heading for the next part. Alright, so for this first layer, I took this chord progression that we made earlier and then I just threw some Valhalla shimmer on it. And then we're also going to need some sort of like high-pitched noise. Throwing more rhythm stuff in here is just making it too busy at this point. So this is what we got so far. So I'm thinking in this 2-bar section right here, we could take the root note of our next riff and then we can just chop it up and take this ambient part out and it's gonna be really jarring. Let's get a riser in here. Now for this next section, I really wanna switch it up and then we're really gonna mess up the pattern on this one. Like it's gonna be super weird. You. What? Check this out. All right, let's see what kind of atmosphere we can put to really make this just feel like a completely different vibe from the first part. You know, after listening to it, again, back from the start, it really feels like it needs a slammy part here instead of kind of this bouncy riff. So I'm actually going to take all of this and move it back over here for another day. Yeah, now we're talking. Now we are talking. Yo. I syncopated all of the cymbals with the riff, and the kicks are syncopated with the guitars, and the pattern's weird, and this feels worlds better. All right, we are going to duplicate this over one time, and then we really get to play with all these effects here because we got these noises and we don't have any harmonies that we need to worry about. Let's just really mess this up now. All right, so really not too much here. A little bit of ring mod, a little bit of frequency shifter, turn on some reverb at some points. To contrast the atmosphere of this, which is like basically a really drawn out chord, I think for the atmosphere on this one, I basically just want to take an explosion and put that into shimmer and just have that be the background. That'll do. That's pretty sick. I still feel like it's missing a little bit in like the higher register, so I'm gonna see if I can't add something in the ambience that kind of fills that out. Altogether in the background, it sounds like this. So cool, man. Now I'm just curious, what happens if we bring back the bouncy riff and we just have that switch it up? You know what? Screw it. We're gonna go even heavier. Guys, I don't even know anymore. It's so heavy. It's so much heavier than I expected it to be. Goodness gracious, what have we done? Oh, so we're at about a minute and a half of the song done. So pretty much we need our instrumental break and our breakdown, which somehow has to be heavier than this. Guys, I don't know. I don't know how we're gonna do that. But seeing as it's 4 o'clock and I have to finish this in 24 hours, I need to get probably about like 4 hours of sleep, and then we'll get back at it in the morning. So I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is I got much more than 4 hours of sleep. The bad news is we only have a few hours left to finish the entire song. So new day, fresh ears. I'm gonna listen through the entire thing, see what I think. Okay, so overall the first bit is feeling a little bit muddy to me. I might go back and play around with the octaves a little bit to make the melody a little bit more clear. I am still gonna press on with the instrumental bit that's gonna come after this. And of course, the first thing that comes to my mind is gonna be a koto instrumental. So I'm gonna crack on with that and hopefully we'll be back in not too much time. So this little rundown here, we're stomping on a D sharp, which is gonna lead us right into the root note. So it's gonna feel super unresolved until this riff hits. And I'm really excited about where this breakdown is gonna go. But first, we need to finish off the rest of this atmosphere. The first thing I wanna do is get a ungodly amount of reverb on this koto, probably some compression as well. So I'm trying to think in my head while I'm doing this, kind of the environment that this would be in. All right, let's get a void synth in here. I'm just gonna take every note in the scale and play it all at once and then put a shimmer on it. Let's see what this sounds like all together now. All right, let's talk about this breakdown. I gotta pull out every trick in the bag. I need all the ambience, all the low tune notes, all the noises. We're gonna make it as heavy as possible. I kinda wanna keep with this theme of the dead notes that we had going earlier. I'm thinking, let's see what it sounds like with the China syncopated with all the kicks. Let's keep things somewhat consistent here. I think we are onto something though. I'm going back now, keeping all of my offsets, I guess 1/8 past the halfway point of each bar. All right, so now we need to spice it up a little bit. I think we have like a core pattern here that sounds pretty good. We just need to get a little bit more creative with these sounds and add some variations to it. And just like that, with a few hours remaining, I am done. Let me walk through a couple things that I changed before we show you the final song. For the intro, I changed some of the octaves on the notes around. I also rebalanced and added a few atmosphere tracks in the beginning. Also some atmosphere adjustments on the instrumental break. And for the last breakdown, I changed a little bit of the pattern and added some effects. It's also worth mentioning, I did do a little bit of processing on the drums. Here's the first EQ, this is on the snare and a transient shaper. And then for the kick, a little bit of sustain, some Saturn, and an expander on the kick to give it a little bit more attack. So without further ado, here is the entire song.